Biden done did it. He went to Morehouse College. Multiple students decided to stand up and turn their backs on Biden because they believe Biden has turned his back on the American public. I'm going to take you through a tapestry of the commencement. Without the controversy, it was still one of the worst commencement speeches I've seen in a very long time. I feel qualified to make that conclusion, given I've been a college professor for many years, many commencements, and I have given a significant number of commencements as well. With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show. All right, here it is.
We gather on this Sunday morning because if we're in church, perhaps it would be this reflection. It would be a reflection about resurrection and redemption. Remember, Jesus was buried on Friday, and it was Sunday. On Sunday, he rose again. But we don't talk enough about Saturday, when his disciples felt all hope was lost. In our lives, in the lives of the nation, we have those Saturdays to bear witness the day before glory, seeing people's pain and not looking away. But what work is done on Saturday to move pain to purpose? How can faith get a man, get a nation through what was to come?
That's right, Mr. President. Go to Morehouse College and talk about Jesus. They have graduated 4 years of academic scholarship. Talk about faith. I'm not saying that it should be adverse to faith. My point is, this is called a program. A program is meant to dilute or to dissuade from those who would be adversarial to the message. And so you pivot to a religious core because you know that the majority of those students self-identify as Christian. You understand the legacy of Morehouse College connected to the Black church. And you brought your, well, let's just say, Washington, D.C. game directly to Atlanta, Georgia. I want to show you the highlights from the speech. Here it is.
Class of 2024, you join, as you know, a sacred tradition. And education makes you free, and Morehouse education makes you fearless. When his disciples felt all hope was lost. In our lives, in the lives of the nation, we have those Saturdays. That's the magic of Morehouse. That's the magic of America. It's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That's why I've called for an immediate ceasefire. An immediate ceasefire to stop the fighting. Bring the hostages home. And I've been working on a deal as we speak, working around the clock to lead an international effort to get more aid into Gaza, rebuild Gaza. I'm also working around the clock for more than just one ceasefire. I'm working to bring the region together. I'm working to make sure we finally get a two-state solution, the only solution. For two people who live in peace, security, and dignity. This is one of the hardest, most complicated problems in the world, and there's nothing easy about it. I know it angers and frustrates many of you, including my family. But most of all, I know it breaks your heart. It breaks mine as well. You can drink clean water without fear of brain damage, and I can't afford to remove the lead pipes.
Listen, there's actually more, but let me highlight a reality here. Obviously, the students, now graduates of Morehouse College, they are not dissuaded from their realization that this is a political ploy, a stunt, a pawn that Morehouse has now been engaged in, unfortunately. But the reality remains. While Biden says he's working around the clock to stop the carnage, he's also working around the clock to work around Congress to send ammunition to aid in the killing. He talks about the resurrection with the backdrop of genocide that he supports. There's more.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium the 46th President of the United States.
What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? The trail of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. Most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure? Faith asks you to hold on to hope, to move heaven and earth, to make better days. Well, that's my commitment to you, to show you democracy, democracy, democracy is still the way. If black men are being killed in the street, we bear witness. For me, that means to call out the poison of white supremacy, to root out systemic racism.
Mr. Biden, your words are not comforting. When you speak from a position of policy power, what would have been comforting, at least encouraging, would have been the deliverables that you campaigned on being proclaimed at that commencement. But you did not have many deliverables that you could talk about, because the resume that you presented when you said, vote for me and I will set you free, that resume, well, those qualifications have fallen short. There was another speech outside of Morehouse College happening, led by the alumnus. Here it is.
All I can think to myself is, what would Dr. King do? And I can promise you that Dr. King will be right here with us. For all of my alumnus, for all of those who graduated from Morehouse College, I am asking you that if you love Dr. King, if you came to Morehouse like me because of the work of Dr. King, then what we're saying is, withhold your dollars. No more investments into this college until we have an administration that understands that your degrees don't mean nothing. Your degrees don't mean nothing if you are not using it to fight for justice and fight for those who need us. Don't get discouraged by the numbers. You thank God that God opened your eyes to not only see a genocide, but be willing to do something about it. Continue to fight. Continue to stand up. Continue to be a voice for the voiceless. And continue to not only, we're going to continue to fight for Palestine, but we got to fight for Haiti. Fight for Haiti. Fight for Congo. Fight for Sudan. All across the globe. And fight for America as well. This is our country. This is your country. And don't let anyone tell you anything different. And as I look into this crowd, this is what America looks like. This is America.
A very diverse crowd, indeed. Put him up full mass. You see, he could have decided to withdraw. Obviously, the president of Morehouse could have decided to disinvite. Remember, the invitation was extended before the policy of genocide was enacted, supported. President Joe Biden was met with protest and signs that said Genocide Joe as he pulled up to Morehouse. A few graduates and also faculty engaged in a silent protest during the speech as well by turning their backs on President Joe Biden. Full disclosure, Morehouse College is on the AU campus. I'm a professor on the AU campus as well. Biden's speech at the vulnerable HBCU in Atlanta focused on race and politics, and several times made obvious references to Donald Trump without using the Republican nominee's name. On Israel and Gaza, Biden called the situation a humanitarian crisis and emphasized that he's calling for an immediate ceasefire. Now, here's what he did not emphasize: exacting policy. Understand this: when a politician cares about you, they give you exacting policy. When they don't care about you, they give you nothing. When they want you to think they care about you, they give you, well, what you just saw. I feel your pain. Something must be done. It is a crisis. Believe in hope. Hope beyond hope. That's what I'm going to give you. Hope in democracy. No policy. No directive. No mandate. Just words. All right, Jackson, thoughts here.
I think, the clear and visual in this case of representation of the lack of enthusiasm, not just from that Morehouse body, but also from the youth vote, generally speaking, across the country, is a broader reflection that the Democratic Party's days of being able to say, hey, we're not as bad as the Republicans are pretty much done. After all, that's really the only reason that Joe Biden was able to win last go round. That was his whole campaign. It was that I'm the only guy that can defeat Trump and save democracy. And a lot of how he got across the finish line was making promises to the youth vote. So even before the situation in Gaza started going down, where his polling numbers really started cratering with youth, he had already failed to deliver on his full promise for instance, student loan debt forgiveness, falling short on that and not really coming across as really trying to fight for it. The typical Democratic, oh, well, we tried. We could have done more, but we didn't type of deal. And lastly, the reason that the days of the Democrats being able to say, oh, we're not quite as bad as the Republicans are done, isn't just because we've seen them not deliver, but also because Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z are all winning elections, not just federally, but state and local as well. And that's going to continue to happen. So that's the constant silver lining for me, is knowing that a lot of these people's time is done, and it's our time to shine.
That's right. Very well said. And I reminded some of the students that no matter what, you will not be denied, because you are the future leaders of this nation, even if those who are currently in charge are acting as if they will never let go. Time has its remedies.